Side quest. The weather is getting really cold and my dogs need some booties to walk in the snow. I have ordered booties for them before, none of them stay on, so I thought I would just make my own. And I like the suspender style booty because I think those will stay on a lot better. So I bought some shoe soles that people usually like put in the bottom of their shoes to get more grip. So I was thinking I could cut out little like circles out of these to put on the bottom of the booties. And I also bought a waterproof material that I think is meant for like making tarps or making kites, but as long as it's waterproof, I think it's going to work. And for the inside, my husband has decided to throw out some of his old sweatpants, or he just didn't want them anymore, so we were either going to donate them or, as he said, I might want to use the fabric for something. So I think this is going to be the something. I'm going to line the inside of the booties with this for extra warmth. I'm just going to try to figure out what kind of shape I want the booties to be. And then at some point I do want to figure out like a fastener situation. I have some Velcro strips that you use for electronics that I feel like could work well for around the leg. And yeah, we'll see how that goes for now. I'm going to start by cutting up these pants for fabric. I just cut out a pretty rough shape. I'm going for functionality. They're not gonna look very aesthetically pleasing, but they'll stay on and they'll keep them warm and dry. So now I'm just gonna cut out 4 of these shapes. And before I cut any more, I'm going to figure out, or try my best to figure out the construction, because I do want it to be waterproof. And this is a waterproof material, but as soon as we poke holes in it to sew, it won't be waterproof anymore. I was thinking we can sew it and then like coat it with something. This is gonna be real janky. Not janky, we're going to be resourceful. I could cover it with like gel nail polish, but I wonder if that's gonna last a long time. Or we could just cover the stitches with super glue. Or maybe this is more of a like a no sewing thing and more of a gluing thing. We'll see what I come up with. It's the next day. Last night, this is what I sewed as a sample. Delusion is not gonna work out for me at this point in time. So I looked up a tutorial on how to sew a round, like a drawstring bag with a round bottom, and I'll link the video down below, but I'm pretty sure that I could use that method. And to give the bottom of the shoe a little bit of structure before trying to just glue on the sole, I feel like it won't stick very well if it's just fabric. So I'm also going to include like a, I don't know, like a cutout of this, so it has a little bit of shape to the shoe before we stick the sole on, if that makes sense. I don't know if this is gonna work. I never know if anything's gonna work. I'm gonna make a little prototype using, it's just some scrap muslin I had laying around. I'm just testing my theory, so I'm really quickly adding some seam allowance. This white pencil is really handy. I don't even know if it's washable, but I found it in my closet. Okay, I'm gonna cut this out, and now I'm going to trace this. So this is gonna go between the shell and the lining. This would be the shell, and then the lining, use use a pocket. I'm gonna clip this together and then sew around. I did a really rough job sewing around the first prototype, I guess. Good thing about this is I'm gonna really learn how to sew curves. I think I sewed through the cardboard. Yeah, I did. We're gonna need much more accurate measurements for the real thing, but I sewed through the cardboard here.
And then we're gonna need the boot part. So it's gonna be like a cone shape, and we have to figure out the circumference of this, and that would be the length of the bottom.
We are back at it. I drafted a very rough pattern for the boot part. The bottom is going to wrap around the sole, I suppose. And then the top is going to be for his legs at the front, because dogs' legs are relatively the same size in the front, but then the back legs, the higher up you go, the bigger their legs are. So this is going to be for the front. I have the pattern piece. I'm just going to go over to the sewing machine and sew it what would be right sides together. And I did a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is very uneven, but we're testing a theory. Okay, that is sewn together. I'm going to give the seam allowance a trim right here, attach it to the sole, right sides together. Yeah, not that I think it matters very much, because I don't think that the shell has a right side and a wrong side. Okay, I gave myself like a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I sewed more like a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm gonna redo this. I sewed a prototype. This is it inside out. This is what it looks like. But my sewing was so bad, because obviously it's just not accurate. But I think we learned a lot from this. The layers are going to work. This is what we need to do, but we just need to do a better job. And so I measured their paws. So why be delusional when we can be more accurate? So I drafted a quick pattern on Illustrator. Why did I think that I could just put one pattern inside of another? I don't know. Why did I not add seam allowance on this one? I don't know. I'm gonna fix that. I added seam allowance. Again, rough prototype. We're clearly not thinking. It's the next day. I don't know if I showed you the last prototype that I made. I liked everything about it so far, and now I'm just testing to see how well it stays on. I put a strip of Velcro on as well, but I didn't line the boot part, and so I want to know how it fits with a lining. I'm going to make another prototype with a few other adjustments, as well as it being fully lined, to see how differently that fits, because right now it's a little bit loose. But I did purposely leave some space in terms of like the surface area at the bottom, because I knew that was going to be lined. So that's what I'm going to do now. Checking in, having another cozy sewing session. I have my pajamas on, Christmas candle, Christmas cup of tea. So I've made, this is the first prototype I had made last night. I left the top open, only sealed like 1/3 of the way through, and then I added a Velcro strap here. What I learned from this is the Velcro strap needs to be lower. These are for the front paws. I'm pretty sure that the back paws are gonna have to be different. This Velcro strap has to be lower, and I think I can close this up a little bit more and move the Velcro strap more in the middle of the seam So that way, because when you pull it, it's kind of redundant because it's pulling this open, but then pulling this closed. So you're just like really twisting it. So I feel like if it was pulling on both sides, then it would just be a little bit more even. And because this Velcro strap was so high, his foot, like it would just kind of slide out a little. So then I made the second prototype. Well, I mean, this is probably my third prototype now. The first one was a sewing mess. So on the second one, I fully lined it and I moved the Velcro strap down, and I also sewed it on a little bit better. Right now, I'm gonna make more adjustments to this prototype. I'm going to seam rip off this Velcro strap and move it to the middle of the seam. And I'm also gonna close up that seam higher as well. I'm gonna close it maybe like twice the length because it's so high that their foot, I think, can get in anyways. I guess that takes us up to like halfway. Other than that, like this stayed on pretty well from when we were just testing it briefly. I think this is looking pretty good so far. Just gonna make those adjustments now and have somebody wear it to test it for a little bit. I did such a bad job seam ripping off that Velcro strap. I ended up cutting it off, and I also cut myself a little bit. A reminder, seam rippers are sharp. Okay, I thought I'd bring you over to my sewing machine. Sewing this material compared to the last jersey knit that I did for the dress is night and day. This is miles easier than handling what was going on with that fabric. I feel a lot more confident dealing with the sewing machine now. I feel like it's less intimidating to me. I just wanted to give you an update on that front. Reattach the Velcro strap. Actually, I don't know if that's gonna be possible on the machine after it's all sewn on together, because the last time I did it, I sewed it on before sewing this seam together and even attaching it to the bottom. What am I gonna do? Try it anyways, I suppose. I think we can get in there. It's just gonna go across something like this. I just need to get one side on. Lost my top thread. That was very haphazard. This might be a little bit too high for the Velcro. And it would definitely all have to be sewn on at the front. But I think that's good enough to test and put it on. I wanted you to see how impressed he looks. When it's on with the muslin, it looks like a soup dumpling. Today we are going to be working on only the booties because I think I'm done testing now. They stay on. The only problem is because there's nothing really holding the top up, they just kind of fall down. So I'm thinking of adding another Velcro strap. Like that would definitely fix the problem. But when you have 2 dogs, that's 8 booties with 2 Velcro straps on. That's 12 Velcro straps for me to be taking on and off every walk, and I don't know if I'm down for that. But I do want to see if I could actually close this booty all the way up because there is a lot of space. So if they could fit their whole foot in here with the sewn all the way up, I think that's gonna be good. And then I think I'm gonna start cutting out like the pattern pieces of the actual fabric. To make at least 4 of these, I have to test them out on the back still. So we'll start with 4 and then we'll see if the back needs any more adjustments.
I got back from Pilates at 8 a.m. and I made myself a little breakfast and I was stuck on my couch for a good 40 minutes because I started Pilates at this new place called Legree. They just opened, and they have this machine called the Megaformer. Anyways, it's really hard, and my legs and my glutes are so sore, and I didn't know that it was going to be this hard, so I booked myself for a class 3 days in a row, and I feel like I have to sign up now to this Pilates class. I'm doing the 2-week trial because it's so hard, but I'm not sure I could do or should be doing 3 days in a row.
Booty, and try to put it on. I put the boots on, Romeo. Everything looks functional enough. Their feet still fit in the hole in the top. I don't think I need any fasteners. And it holds up pretty well being sewed up. I'm just gonna leave it as is. And obviously I'm gonna do a better job at sewing on the Velcro strap. I'm probably gonna sew 2 seams running parallel like this. Yeah, now I have to make 8 of these booties. One thing that I didn't try was gluing the sole on, which I think will be easy to do, is cut out the shape, stick it on with some crazy glue. And one thing that I will have to be careful of is the outside when I'm sewing the bottom to the boot. Apparently I have this habit of not getting the shell, and so it's making a hole like this, which is a big problem because then it won't be waterproof. So now I'm gonna get started cutting out all of the pattern pieces for, we'll start with 4 boots. See how that goes. I've cut out all of the pieces for the bottom. I'm going to use nail glue to glue the cardboard to the fabric pieces, just so it doesn't move around when I sew. I'm also gonna do the same thing for the shell pieces as well. This is especially slippery. Perfect. Gonna give those a few minutes to dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna trace out the boot pattern pieces. I finished doing all the bottoms. Whenever I sewed, I did it this way with the lining face down. And on the second one, I was like, okay, what would it look like if I did the lining face up? And it did not go well. It was a big struggle, as you can see. These look much nicer. I think it's just like the way that the fabric moves through the machine because the 2 fabrics are such different weights. I wanted to finish the seams just to make sure that it doesn't fray and stuff, and that it doesn't move when I sew the boot, like the tall part, onto the bottom. And so I did a few test stitches. I used the same overcast stitch that I did for the dress, but it's a much wider stitch length, or I mean stitch width, which is so much easier to sew, honestly. And working with these two fabrics, as different as they are, is still so much easier than that jersey fabric for the dress that I made. Crazy. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. And then I'll do them for all four. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do to this yet. Just as long as it can be connected and waterproof, I think it's okay. But yeah, that was not a good call. Experiment failed. Here it is with the finished seams. I think it looks really good. Okay, that really messed up one. It looks like this. If it's functionally fine, I'm fine with it. If it's not, I'm gonna do another one. Great angle. Now I'm going to clip the lining to the shell for the boot part, and then we're gonna sew a straight stitch across the top. Now for the boots, I wish that I had put it like this side of the fabric facing like the inside for their paws. I made a mistake. I think it's okay. But for the boot part, let's try not to do that. Now, I'm trying to think of the order of operations because I have to attach the zip tie on the outside, and I also wanted to do it across a seam.
But I wonder if it would just be so much easier for myself if I attached it like across the back, because this will be in a tubular shape. So yeah, I think I could just put the zip tie across the back. That's easier. In that case, I don't think I have to finish this first, but since I already took off the other foot, I might as well. Or no, let's figure out where to put the, was I saying zip tie this whole time? The Velcro strap. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna figure out where I want to put the Velcro strap, and I want it
2/3 of the way down from the top of the boot. That's the trick for it to stay on. One centimeter of this is gonna go away because of the seam allowance, and I want it up pretty much at the same height as what I had it on the other booty, and up a bit more because it is going on the back, and I feel like it's nicer to have more height on the back and less in the front. I think I can pin this more like here. Somehow I put the wrong sides together, so now this is not going to be flipped inside out. I feel like we could just hem it like this. If I really didn't want this to show, I think it's still fine. I'll still sew all the way down. Finish the seam and sew it down like a hem. That's so interesting. Why is this one piece clipped together the wrong direction? I don't know. So that top hem, is that a hem? I guess so. It's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to finish these side seams. No, I think I'm going to finish the rest of the seams because this is going to have to go on the bottom and I won't be able to finish it after, so it makes sense. I'll just do a casting stitch all the way around. I'm trying out so many different filming angles. I finished stitching up the side seam for the boot, and now I just have to attach the bottom on, and then we're finished our first one. It's definitely not the best sewing job. It's looking a little rough, but I think it'll do. I think I'm gonna trim this part here. Weep. Okay, not my best sewing job, but I think that will do. And then we're gonna figure out how to attach the sole onto the bottom. I'm gonna go put this on somebody. So they they fit. I'll show you after they're all done. The only issue is my sewing skills. Could have just been a lot nicer, which I think is a little bit important for the waterproof factor. I think I will use crazy glue to glue on the soles, and then we're like done, done, done. I think I'm just gonna go around and reinforce some of the stitching because I feel like I stitched in segments and they didn't always connect.
My machine has been malfunctioning. I can't even talk. How my machine has been malfunctioning for the last 30 minutes and I can't figure out what it is. So I'm just gonna have to call it for now. I might get back to this after I take out the dogs. And I think I need to like open her up and clean out the lint or something because I don't think it's threaded wrong. Like I've rethreaded it multiple times at this point. I'm gonna step away for a little bit. I went to walk the dogs, tidied up the kitchen, and now I'm ready to get back to figuring out my machine. So I think the only thing left for me to do, since I've rewinded it, switched out my bobbins, I suppose it's time to learn how to clean this machine. It could also be a dull needle, but I feel like I haven't done that much sewing for my needle to get dull. I also feel like I haven't done that much sewing for my machine to get dirty, but who knows? I surely don't know. Who am I to say?
It's been 40 minutes. And how do I know it's been 40 minutes? Because I'm watching like an hour-long video and it's 40 minutes in. Anyways, this is what was happening with my thread. Okay, there we go. Super loose, right? What happened? When I wound the bobbin, I don't know. Okay, I fixed the tangling issue. I feel like two different issues happened. There was the tangling, and then I fixed that, and then came the loose thread. When I rethreaded the bobbin, I didn't make sure that the thread clicked into like the metal thing in the bobbin case. That's it. That is it. Okay, one more test and we shall continue finishing the seams. It's the next day. I'm continuing where I left off yesterday. I just have to finish up the side seams on one of the boot pieces, and then I want to close up where the overcast stitch didn't catch the lining because the pieces don't add up. So that's why I say I think that the method that I accidentally did yesterday is superior, because that can't really happen. You just have to overstitch. I think it's called an overstitch. I'm not sure. You just have to stitch the hem down. Other than that, I just have to close them up. No, I have to attach the Velcro straps, and then I can close them up and sew on the bottoms. I am on a mission. The goal today is to finish these 4. Let's go. All right, so I have broken my first needle. I was trying to sew through like 6 layers of fabric, which makes sense. Which is why I also think that this method was superior, because you don't have to sew through 6 layers of fabric, but here we are. I'll just not sew up that high then. I finished sewing all of the booties, 4 booties. Now I just have to cut out the soles exactly to the shapes of the bottoms and super glue them on. Oh, I'm so excited to have these. They're not the best craftsmanship, but I just told myself they just have to stay on, because the booties that we buy on Amazon or whatever, like, they always fell off. Shoe sole is gonna stick to this fabric to see if I even really need crazy glue. It seemed pretty sticky when I was cutting it. Let's see. I mean, that sticks pretty well. I feel like as long as the surface is pretty flat, and this is made to be a little bit, I think it'll stick on pretty well. Let's just do it. I think it's doing a pretty good job sticking. Like, I don't think that's gonna come off. First one completely finished. Unreal. Functionality. It's functional, that's what matters, not the way it looks. Okay, I will glue the rest of these on, and then I'm gonna put them all on Romeo. And he's actually okay with boots on his front paws, or just like things on his front paw, because sometimes he gets like an irritated paw and I'll put a sock on him so he doesn't lick it. But yesterday when I was trying a boot on to his back paw, that's the one he doesn't know how to function with a boot on. He's always like lifting it and stuff. All done. Let's go try them on. So I just wanted to hop on here and say that I had the same malfunctioning issue as yesterday. And I think I know what it is. When I rewound the bobbin, I did it unevenly. I knew that. And I knew that it could give me trouble. But what I didn't know specifically is, besides just like causing trouble down here, it could actually make your thread somehow slip out of this thing up here. So then it becomes... Actually, it's not in there right now. Anyways, there's only thread when it uptakes. Okay, that makes sense. But I think what solved the issue for me was when I rethreaded the machine and put the thread through here. And then it fixed it.
even though my bobbin is still wound kind of unevenly. Lots of things to understand. I feel like it's logical, it's physical, right? Like it makes sense, but I just don't know. I'm on to finishing my second boot part currently. This is a real funky angle, but I just finished doing the overcast stitch, attaching the shell to the lining on all of the boot pieces, and look how much better aligned they are. What was I thinking before? Fold it inside out. Next, I will
fold these all over. And I wonder if I should press, or like what would be the best way to get a straight stitch. I don't know if pressing would help, because I would have to iron the shell at a very low heat, and then the lining is also kind of thick. So I don't know if there's really any point in doing that. Let's just do, I can switch out my foot for a straight stitch foot now.
So what I ended up doing was I pinned, and then I tried my best not to pin through the outer shell. I just pinned what was rolled over to the lining. And I'm gonna see if I can stitch this without going over the pins. I think I might. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. But this direction will work. Just wanna make sure I'm not going over the pins. So it's just set up like this. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I mean, maybe this is like a situation where if it was a normal piece of clothing, you would use a twin needle. So I'm on my last booty in terms of sewing the side seams together, and I wanted to update. My thread started getting tangled again, and what I did was I just rethreaded my machine and made sure that the top thread was going through that number 5 thing. Like, you gotta kind of pull it through, which honestly took me, I thought about it some more, and it took me a long time to think that that could be the issue, because before, when I threaded the machine, like, I didn't really think about that, which makes me wonder how and why I got away with not making sure that it was in there. So that's interesting. Anyways, these booties are looking a lot better than the last ones. I wonder if I could finish them tonight. What time is it now? 7:40. I don't know, probably not, but I got a lot done in a day compared to the first, I want to say pair, but they're not a pair, the first 4.
My neck is getting a little sore. I was thinking how sewing machines are not very like ergonomical, because you need, I hope I said that word right. Anyways, because it's so low, and so oftentimes you need to like kind of really get under there to see, which is a horrific posture for me. So I think in the future, probably near future, I'm gonna very seriously think about getting another standing desk.
Hello, this is a very haphazard outro for this video that is so long overdue. But this footage was shot, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now. Like I said, I really wanted to make my dog's boots because I can't seem to find like boots that I really like online, and I just really need them to stay on. This project as a beginner sewist was kind of a tall order. There are a lot of things that I had to figure out, like
The order of operations, how the boot was going to go on, how the boot was going to stay on, how the sole was going to be durable enough for the terrain.
But anyways, I hope that the end result will be something that perfectly suits our needs. I was a little bit disheartened in the process, but I feel like I can figure it out. Oh yeah, this video is only part 1 of the process. There's still more tests to be done. When I started this YouTube channel, I had an idea of going through a project each week, but it's not really realistic when you're learning a new skill and then also filming as you go, because the filming and editing is also a new skill that I have to learn. So I'm learning 2 things at once, and I learned that a video each week is not possible if I want each video to be a completed project. So what I'm going to do from now on, I guess it'll be 2026 by the time I post my next video. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to post like week by week updates on whatever project that I would be working on at the time. And that way I feel like I could stay on track a lot better and have a good schedule.